All of this that I'm seeing right now, I'm making it up on the fly. This cup that I'm seeing, it only exists when I create it. This table exists when I create it. Like in a virtual reality. In a virtual reality, I'm in Grand Theft Auto. I look over here and now I see a red Mustang. I look away, I don't see the red Mustang. The red Mustang only existed when I look, because it's a VR game. I render it when I need it. I'm now rendering a cup. The cup that I rendered is no longer there. You might render your cup. You might say, well, no, Don, you're wrong. The cup is still there, I can see it. No, you're rendering your cup, and there is no red Mustang. If you look inside the supercomputer, there's no red Mustang there.
When you were born into a human body, you are locked into a biological VR headset. You cry and you lose all your memory. Since then, every sense you have is simply a controller inside the game called Life on Earth. Here is the real question. What if your existence is just a touch point, a node, created to gather experience for a higher apex consciousness? What if every choice you make, every emotion you feel, every timeline you explore is part of a much larger system, collecting data, expanding awareness, and evolving itself through you? The electromagnetic spectrum that our eye can perceive is not 1%, not 1 millionth, it's 1/30 billionth. And even with the most advanced telescopes and instruments humanity can ever build, we can observe less than 1 septillionth of the universe. And this limitation doesn't stop at vision. Our hearing, taste, touch, smell, and even intuition, they all filter out almost everything that exists except for those for survival.
We did simulations just to see if the ideas were working. And we would have artificial organisms in a computer.
Yeah.
So it was like a game that we put together. And we would have a world, and we would let some organisms actually see the true state of that world. So they were the truth organisms. And then we'd have other ones that only had like a headset, an interface that only could see not the truth, but a little bit of information that could guide adaptive behavior.
That would help them to survive, reproduce.
Survive, yeah, and reproduce. That's right. What we found was, for a wide range of conditions of the algorithm, the organisms that saw the truth went extinct. They weren't able to compete with the ones that didn't. And one of the things that came out of it was seeing the truth takes too much time and energy. It's complicated to see the truth.
We are not seeing reality as it truly is. We are only seeing the user interface of this reality, a simplified layer, a rendered projection, designed not to show you the truth, but to help your avatar not to get extinct inside this simulation. In our previous video, we talked about Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff's theory that consciousness maybe arise from quantum activity inside the brain's microtubules, meaning every thoughts, emotions, and insights that you had might be a quantum clap, a tiny moment where infinite possibilities reduce into a single experience. That was the micro scale. But quantum events alone don't explain something crucial. How do billions of micro experiences combine into the unified I you feel right now? This is where Dr. Jonathan Schooler brings something interesting. He proposes that consciousness is not one spotlight, but a nested constellations of observer windows, stacked like the fractal layers of awareness.
So in a mosaic photograph, every pixel of the photograph is itself a photograph, right? And you can imagine every pixel of those smaller photographs being photographs. So you sort of have windows upon windows. It's a very fractal kind of an idea. And the model that we have is the possibility that every one of those windows actually are loci of experience. So essentially, they're all moving through subjective time together.
Imagine a mosaic where every pixel is another complete picture. That's how your consciousness is structured. Your neurons have their own tiny windows of processing. Your organs may have their own rhythms of awareness. Your brain networks create larger windows, and your conscious self, the you watching this video, is simply the apex window of all these synchronized layers working together. They don't combine through magic. They combine through synchrony and resonance. Where lower level windows synchronize their rhythms, they merge into a higher window of experience. Just like you are the apex windows of your system, humanity is the apex windows of Earth. 8 billion human touchpoints, each carrying its own fragment of experience, feeding upward into a large planetary consciousness. Zoom out again, every intelligent civilization becomes another massive observer window. Zoom out further, trillions of planetary systems across the galaxy form a cosmic mosaic, a hierarchy of consciousness collecting experience at every scale. In this view, you are not a single observer, You are a window inside a window inside a window, a touch point through which the universe learns about itself. So why does suffering exist in this simulation? Alan Watts has a beautiful explanation. The universe is a divinity playing hide and seek with itself. If you were the infinite, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-present, it would eventually become unbearably boring.
Suppose you are God. Suppose you have all time, all eternity, and all power at your disposal. To dream any dream you wanted to dream, what would you do? You could dream any span of time. You could dream 75 years of time in one night, 100 years of time in one night, 1,000 years of time in one night. And then, as time went on, you would dare yourself to do more and more outrageous things. And at some point in the game, you would say, tonight I am going to dream in such a way that I don't know that I'm dreaming, so that you would take the experience of the dream for complete reality.
A final state of total ominous science leaves nothing to discover.
I actually can't imagine this may be heretical, but being an all-knowing God seems awful, right? If there was nothing more to know, if it was and you knew the future, the past, oh my God, it would be really, really terrible. So I think that this sort of idea of a always constantly unfolding acquisition of more and more understanding, but never getting to the final place, that's the one that I find much more aesthetically compelling.
So divinity, the apex consciousness, forgets itself and enters this simulation as you, as me, as every touch point in existence. We take on limitations to make the game interesting, and suffering becomes part of that aesthetic imperative, the contrast that makes meaning possible. Jonathan believes that suffering is friction inside the nested observed system, the turbulence that forces your windows of consciousness to reorganize, to learn, to grow, to move forward a higher form of coherence. If consciousness is a hierarchy of nested observed windows, then your emotions are the signals moving through the entire system. Federico Faggin, the inventor of the microprocessor and a pioneer of conscious research, said something incredible after his own transcendental experiences. Feelings are quantum information.
So the moment I speak a word, I've made a feeling I had I've turned it into classical information.
That's right. You take something which is private, can only be represented by quantum information. But the representation is not what you feel. The representation of reality is not reality, okay? So what you feel, only you feel, not body, you feel, and you know inside. And what you can say about what you feel is a small part of what you feel. That there is a deeper reality where the feelings and the fields exist.
They're not just reactions, they're messages, frequencies, coming from the deeper layer of your awareness. And this is why higher emotions feel different. Gratitude, love, compassion. These states raise the resonance of your whole observed window, sinking your mind, your heart, and your body into one coherent field. In this sense, meditation is the moment you stop feeling the avatar and allow the deeper layers of your consciousness to come online. When you close your eyes, you shut off a major part of the user interface, the visual rendering system. Your brain begins shifting from beta waves into alpha and theta. The same frequencies are found in hypnagogic state between waking and dreaming. And when the surface window quiets down, the deeper windows begin to synchronize. This is why meditators across traditions describe the same thing: a sense of spatialness, a feeling of detachment from the body, a dissolving of the I back to the field. Then when your heart and brain enter coherence, they generate a measurable electromagnetic signature, a higher vibrational state that literally turns you into new possibilities, connecting you to higher levels of consciousness. They are how the apex window, the deeper intelligence behind these simulations, communicates with you, guides you, and updates your trajectory. And the higher your emotional frequency, the clearer that connections becomes. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls the gamma state superconsciousness, where the observer window expands beyond the limits of the avatar to begins to interact directly with the larger fields of possibility. In meditation, You temporarily step outside this simulation, accessing the layers that renders it. You move from the being the character to remembering the creator. When you put everything together, the simulation, the nested observed windows, the touch points across planets and galaxies, a simple truth begins to emerge. You're not a small being inside a vast universe. The universe is unfolding inside your consciousness. Every insight you have, every moment of awareness, every love you share, expands the window through which the whole system learns about itself. You're not separated from the field. You are the field, looking back at itself through human eyes. When you leave this game, every soul will give you a standing ovation. And now, we can play this game with more love, compassion, and awareness.